Alexandra Lúgaro, and I'll be running for governor of Puerto Rico in the next elections as an independent candidate.
That's great. So before we get into the news, because I think a lot of people will, when they hear independent candidate, they think instantly, that, no, this is truly an independent candidate. You're not affiliated with any party right now in Puerto Rico. Is that correct? Can you explain more about that?
And never have been.
Oh, so you've not and have never have been associated with any of the political parties in Puerto Rico?
That's right.
So you are, so the question is, why be an independent now in Puerto Rico and why come out? Because I think a lot of people, especially a lot of Latinos in the United States, don't even know about this story. So this is your opportunity to share some of that.
Yes. Well, I decided to do this because for decades in Puerto Rico, we have been voting for the political parties that represent the status we prefer for the island. For example, people here vote whether they want Puerto Rico to be a state, or whether they want Puerto Rico to keep on its Commonwealth status, and they vote for the political party that represent that instead of voting for qualified candidates to manage the country and manage its economy, its education, its social infrastructure. And I think it's a time of a change. I think Puerto Ricans need to open themselves to new options, and they need to see that we're living right now in a very bad economic, social, and educational panorama. We need to change that, and the only way we can do that is if it's with a multi-ideological and multi-sector gathering of people that are willing to raise this country's economy and its educational system.
Right. So you announced what, about a week ago? I'm sorry. When did you announce formally?
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday. So it hasn't even been a week, right? Is that
right?
So, we got wind of the story because we do have several Puerto Ricans on staff and for Latino Rebels, and we instantly saw that you went in via social media, and it's gotten incredible reception on social media. Can you explain a little bit more about, the strategy? Was that your strategy to announce? And, it's pretty high profile. I think you've produced this. I mean, speak more to why you wanted to do it this way, because it's gotten a lot of attention on the island.
I think it's drawing a lot of attention because I think people weren't aware they had this option. I think we were so used to political parties here that we never thought this was even possible. A candidate not being affiliated with any ideological group, and people are very tired of this bipartisan politics that has brought us here. So I think it's a new rising for the people in Puerto Rico. I think people are looking at this with hope that a change can be truly made. I think they are looking at my proposals in a very good way because I've been very transparent with the people. I'm bringing the numbers. I'm asking the questions of the press, and I think it's a style that they are not used to seeing in other politicians. So I think that's why it has gone so viral in the last week.
Right. So speaking about your platform, to try to put it in a perspective for a national audience outside of Puerto Rico, because I think the issues of government spending, the economy, what are the most important issues for you, and what can you speak about, any specific proposals that that people might understand outside of the island?
Well, first of all, when I started doing this, I analyzed the platforms of the candidates that ran for governor at the last elections in 2012. And when I made an analysis, they were kind of utopic platforms. They basically promised they were going to fix everything in 40 years, and that's basically impossible. So my platform stands on two basic pillars that are the economy and education. The area of education, one of the first things I want to do, I want to change the educational model we're using right now. Puerto Rico has copied the United States educational model. this model has proven to be unsuccessful for the last couple of years because it centers on students passing some standardized tests. That means that we're not preparing our kids in research skills, analysis, critical thinking, and these are different tools we need to start developing in our citizens. So, first of all, I want to change the educational model. I want to restore the pride and the teacher's role in our society. And the economy part, we definitely have a very serious situation with our debt. I want to work on the renegotiation on that debt, but I want to work on an economic development plan on short term, medium term, and long term. In Puerto Rico, we are not planning. We're just improvising. We're reforming constantly, looking for ways to solve immediate situations, but we are lacking that planning that's very important to give continuity to all the projects that are actually being successful on the island.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the reaction, because you obviously did something that, whether people can get technical or not, no one's done in the history of Puerto Rico. I mean, we looked at this. There have been candidates who have run for smaller parties and have run for have created parties, but from what I understand, you are the first true independent candidate in the history of the island. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what at least I think I know my political history. But that's true, right? Okay. So
That's definitely.
So you come in, right, last week, and you cause attention, right? And this is politics. So immediately within 24 hours of your announcement, there's other stories about contracts and teachers and all this other stuff. I know you've spoken to this on Puerto Rican radio in Spanish, but can you address what your answers were to an English-speaking audience so they really understand? From my perspective, when people kind of come after you within 24 hours, it means you're kind of upsetting the apple cart. And in politics, that's very entrenched. So I'm very aware, I'm not naive about politics in Puerto Rico, but I really want you to speak to that, like why the reaction so quickly and what was that all about?
Yes. They came out with two reactions very quickly. The first one was to say, I didn't vote on last two elections, which I did, and I have different witnesses to it. I went straight to the Electoral Commission.
Mm-hmm.
They started an investigation. Up to this moment, they have not showed me the signatures in the list, and I'm going out to the courts to ask for them to show those lists because it's not only important because I voted, it's important because we have here an agency that's supposed to be the basis of our democracy, that are the ones that are supposed to be taking care of this vote, and if they don't have me voting in two consecutive elections where I voted and where my signature is supposed to be, we have a very big problem here. So I'm going to be working with this in the courts the next couple of weeks, even though it has nothing to do with my candidacy, but I want people to know what's really happening in there. And the other thing was that they jumped right away until I had contracts with the government.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, since 2002, I've been working with the Department of Education as an educational service provider. This under the No Child Left Behind Act,
mm-hmm.
which basically amends the Educational Elementary and Secondary School Act of the United States. We have federal funding coming to Puerto Rico where the Department of Education contracts different educational services providers because they don't have the human resources, or they don't have the strategies, or they don't have the infrastructure to provide these services in schools. So I come in here, I do this work for them, and I don't get this contract because I'm lucky. I compete for this contract. They put a request for proposals out in the newspapers. I make my proposal. I compete with other providers. And if my budget and my strategies and my success demonstrates that I have contributed in some way to students improving their academic achievement, I am given these funds to administer them in Puerto Rico. And I've been doing this since 2002. That's one of the main reasons I'm coming into this. I've seen what's happening in the educational system.
Right.
And I've seen the mismanagement of money in our agencies, the mismanagement of funds, and definitely something has to be done. And when they come here, they just added up all the contracts I have since 2002, which amount to $46 million. And they basically think I have $46 million in my bank account. And it's not that way. Each of these projects has a budget. And for example, if they give me $1 million for a school, I have to spend $800,000 of that million in materials and technology for the school. I have to evidence that I actually bought those materials and those equipment for the school with the invoices. I have to pay the other and human resources. I need to pay them for the work, a specialist in education and technology to help these teachers integrate what we're teaching to them to students, so that we can have a project that is actually cost efficient. And I've been working with this. I have never had a single negative comment on any of my projects, either federal or state.
Mm-hmm.
I have been inspected regularly, and I have done an excellent job. I have always evidenced the success of my projects, both quantitative and qualitative, with many studies. So I have nothing to hide here, and I think that's what is scaring this political parties the most, that they have throw everything they can, and I really have nothing to hide.
Right. And, I was in education for a while as well, so I'm very aware of what the process is all about. And I think educating people about education and how services are run is part of, it's part of the job description. But let me also ask you, as we finish this up, I mean, there is an ugly side right now. I mean, I want to bring up the fact that part of the ugliness has been rather sexist, and it speaks to a culture, sort of a machismo culture in Puerto Rico. And you, as a woman candidate, a professional, how do you deal with that? I mean, has it bothered you? Have you fought through it? I mean, what have people been saying? I've read some pieces that have been highly critical about how sort of the paternalistic political culture of Puerto Rico has been quite, shall we say, quite, very negative about it because you're a woman. And that just feels wrong.
It's definitely wrong, but that is where education comes again. We educate our people, and when I started this, my purpose is mainly educational. I want to inform people. I think for reasons that they are informed, they're going to make better selections at the time of voting. Mm-hmm. And when I started this is the whole standard. When we talk about that, one, that the candidate were men. When I started, they looked everywhere for pictures of in a bathing suit. We live in an island. We have beaches, and women go to beaches and bathing suits here.
Right.
And even though they have seen other candidates in bathing suits, there was suddenly all this crisis because there was a picture they took from I don't know where in the internet, and they suddenly made it all about the picture in a bathing suit instead of letting me present my proposals for the island, letting me show my economic plan, my educational plan, my social infrastructure plan. And I think there's a lot of education that has to be done, not only to our people, to the different communication, the media. Sometimes what sells, the headlines that sell has to do with, oh, look at the candidate, she's here in a bathing suit. It's not, she actually has an incredible economic development plan.
Right.
But I think one person at a time, we're doing a great job here. I think this is opening doors not only for other women,
right,
to dare to aspire to political positions, but also to Puerto Ricans. They're learning a lot from this experience, and what I see here happening in this country has to do a lot with hope. People are, after all these years, feeling bad about our economy, about how we're living, the criminality, basically increasing every day, they actually feel hope. They suddenly feel we can get out of this bipartisan kidnapping. We have been kidnapped by two political parties for years, and that's why I'm telling people, please, this time you need to get informed. You need to listen to the candidates. You need to know what they are offering, and you need to look for people who are committed to our country, not to their political parties. And many people say, how will you run this alone? Because you're an independent candidate. You're going to have a legislature that's going to respond to a political party. And they're just going to put a lot of obstacles for you to do your job. And that's why it's so important that our country, for the first time, we get informed and we really get a team of people of every ideology, of every political party, people that are really here to improve this country, people that are here and are well prepared. Because if we keep selecting candidates using as criteria which of them dances better, we will never improve our situation. We need to get candidates that are very, very well prepared, that are not going to be spending millions in counseling, because they already have knowledge on many areas that can help the country.
Right. Well, listen, I have one final question. You have to ask. I mean, you mentioned the fact that political parties are based on political status, and given the history of this island and our homeland and how status has become, I always call it a sort of a cottage industry, in the sense that we've kind of been manipulated by promises of status, political status. Is that a requirement for your candidacy? Do you have to take a position? Are you planning to take a position on what the future of Puerto Rico's political status is? Or is that something that, do you downplay it? Is it not important? I just want to know what your feelings are now from the campaign, and what you plan to do moving forward if elected.
I'm definitely not going to take a position on status, but the status is definitely important. We need to sit at a table, economists, academics, people that deal with how we are living socially, and we need to evaluate the status, and we need to go to Congress with a very strong position on what is better for our country, not by fantasy, what people passionate about the substance thing, but what's really good for our country. Right now, we need to concentrate on our economy. We need to concentrate on our education, and the status is definitely important because it's having great repercussions on our economy, the different things that we can't do internationally because of our political status, and we need to solve it right away. But it's like going to the supermarket hungry. You cannot go to the supermarket hungry. You need, because you're gonna buy a lot of stuff you don't need. We need to first solve our economic situation, and then when we have our empty stomachs, then we can go and buy some groceries. We need to first solve our country's internal problems, and then go to Congress with a solid idea based on facts, and let Congress know, hey, we need this right away. It's affecting our country, and we're dealing with our economic problems in this way. We have a plan for economic development. We have this plan for education. We have a commitment of all the people in Puerto Rico to give continuity to all these plans. But we definitely need Congress to step in and take a decision on our status.
Well, Alexandra, I really appreciate your time. We will be following the campaign closely, and thank you again for all your time, and we really appreciate it. Good luck with everything.